So hi there, this is Namrata Vishwanath, and you're with me on an interview series with leaders from different fields. And I have with me here today Siddharth Rajsekar. He is a lifestyle entrepreneur, he is a leading social media speaker, and he is a digital media strategist. He's also the coach of coaches, and he's India's #1 digital coach. And he's turned around 10,000 businesses in the social media space in a span of 4 years. He was the only Indian on the panel of top internet marketing experts in 2013 in the Middle East Online Marketing Internet Marketing Summit. And he has promoted and strategized for top celebrities like Tony Robbins, Harvey Kerr, Jack Canfield, and Robert Kiyosaki, to name a few. So he's someone who lives the lifestyle of freedom and can help you build that lifestyle for yourself, a lifestyle of freedom. So Siddharth, you've got some extremely interesting stories to share. Could you start with telling me a little about yourself, your journey, and what led you to what you're doing today?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me for this interview. And like Alice in Wonderland, nothing is planned. I never knew that I would be in this space in which I am, because I dropped out of college. I scored like 28% my board exams. I come from a typical Tambram South Indian family where everybody's getting good degrees and going to the US. And I was like the black sheep of the family, like guy flunked out of college and gone to the music industry. So even till today, I'm not a graduate. So the whole journey was at a point where it started from a point of being a rebel, okay, and not wanting to do what everybody else is doing at a conscious or a subconscious level. And I still remember the day that I went for my maths tuitions and 12th board exams. I remember that first day I sat in the tuition class and I was sitting down on the floor and learning those days. I mean, that's how tuitions were. And the master said something which really ticked me off. So he said, if you struggle this 1 year, you can enjoy your whole life. If you enjoy this 1 year, you have to struggle your whole life. And something inside me, that rebel in me, that at that age, 17, 18 years, I was like, this guy, I'm not going to come back to this tuition ever again. So when you're talking about leadership, right, since you're in that space, that was something which I felt like, I'm not going to follow this person. And I just walked out and I did not go back to the tuition. And that's one of the reasons why I flunked my 12th. And then I went on to getting into the music industry. But on an interesting note, the teachers that I was learning from in my sound engineering days, they were not really pushy and stuff like that. They were like more like a friend to me. And the learning was also really high. And I scored 92% there. Mm-hmm. And then I started to teach. I started to teach in that same institute from the age of 19. So I've been teaching since the age of 19. So just to weave in, some concepts into the story is, I realized that leadership is something which I really need to inspire people and not really be a dictator and tell them, things like that. So that is one element which helped me on my journey to realize what kind of leader that I want to be as I evolve myself on this journey. So long story short, from the music industry, set up my own agency in 2011. I was got into entrepreneurship after working in the corporate world for a good 8 years. And then ran the agency for 6 to 7 years. Even now the agency is running. But then a couple of years back, I decided to take a different stint into selling products and coaching people online, because it was getting monotonous. The agency also was getting monotonous after 6 years. And now I've trained the next level teams to actually do the execution part. And now I'm able to step into my power and really do what I really love doing best, which is recording videos, shooting podcasts, and teaching people to become digital teachers. So it's like an irony thing here where I dropped out of college and I was totally against my teacher. And today I'm on a mission to create a lot of teachers in a different mode. Yeah.
And so you're doing a very successful job at doing that.
Thank you.
Yes.
So that's the long story made short.
Yes. And I'm sure it's going to inspire a lot of people, because it's a transformational journey. You've really transformed a lot and transforming many lives as well while you're at it. So a question for you there is, you did mention you were a bit of a rebel when you were in school. And so did you have any role models and any mentors, and, who were they and why were they your mentors?
So my first role model was my tata, my grandfather. because he was a rebel too.
Yes.
And it is there in the blood. He used to work for the Britishers back in the day, and then he quit his job in the Britishers. He was making like 50 rupees per month salary, and then he got into entrepreneurship, and he was one of the greatest salesmen that I know. Like, people would really love to work with him. They would love to buy from him, and he was in the retail business, so he would go to different places, get stuff at a lower price point, come back, and he would charge like 5-10 times, and people would buy it from him, and they'd be very thankful to him. So I would see that kind of persona that granddad had, where he was really able to contribute to the prosperity of the family back then. He comes from a large family of like 7 brothers, 5 sisters, like a huge family, and everybody lived under one roof. And my dad grew up in that same environment, and he used to tell me like the entire house was like a factory. The kitchen was a factory. So many cousins, like some 8-9 cousins living under one roof. So granddad was an inspiration for me because he went offbeat. He was not doing the regular thing of being in a job and things like that. So he was my first inspiration. Then of course my dad and my 2 uncles, all the 3 brothers. My dad is the eldest, so he also is an entrepreneur. My dad's second and third brother, you might have heard of Murli Srinivasan, Mac Srinivasan, BNI. So it's also coming from there. So Mac was also a huge inspiration for me.
Mm-hmm.
So he's my chitapa, my dad's younger brother. So he introduced me to the concepts of like the movie The Secret, when I was still in college, and he gave me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki back when I was still studying. So I have to thank my family more than anyone. So the inspiration comes from the family for trusting me. This side of the family, because the rest of the cousins on dad's side and everyone are like typical corporate, and they are in the corporate world, BE, MS, the typical journey, going to the US, getting the green card, getting married, growing the families, the typical stuff that we would see. But the offbeat thinking, I think, was in this line of the family from grandpa and this family. So yeah, so what I'm doing now is I really want to carry forward that legacy and inspire more people.
So in fact, it's interesting also in the spirit or the rhythm of what you were sharing. You mentioned things like the law of attraction, and I've of course been following you as well. And I know that there are certain practices that you recommend. So, what are the 3 practices or things that you feel lift up your mood in a heartbeat, and you would recommend the others do the same?
Yeah. Just to give you a background before the the actual formulas is, see, law of attraction got popularized after the movie The Secret. I mean, that became like mainstream. But actually, if you go back to from the Western world, it is the Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and how he studied all those multimillionaires, and he created that philosophy of success. And in fact, I have the book there, The Law of Success, which is the foundation to everything. Okay, then you have Jack Canfield, who came out with the success principles, and we had many others. They started to cover the niche. Tony Robbins learned under Jim Rohn. So this entire personal development world that we know of, it has come from that source. But having come from a spiritual background, I've been reading like the Gita and stuff from when I was 10, 11 years old. So even there, like Krishna, he says, like the mind can be your worst enemy or it could be your best friend. And all of these parallels come back to our own philosophy, our culture over here. So it was ingrained in our culture. So the Western world were great at packaging it, but the substance actually is coming from here. So the stuff that I'm actually following right now is taking elements from all over from both. I like to embrace both the directions from which it is coming. So from a soul perspective, the daily practices that I do is I do japa meditation. I love to I have a guru. I surrendered to him in the year 2006, and I'm coming in a lineage going back to like thousands of years. So there is a sampradaya that actually comes, and I follow those practices over there, which is I do japa meditation, because there are different forms of meditation that's there, and I follow the bhakti yoga path. There's bhakti yoga, there's Raj Yoga, Jnana Yoga. There are many other schools of what do you say,
thought
development that you can get to, schools of thought, and I've decided to follow one. So that's as far as the the cultural grounding is concerned. Now, from the Western philosophies and what Napoleon Hill has also shared, elements that I follow on a daily basis, like listening to Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret in the World. I mean, that's a beautiful 30 minutes. The entire philosophy of personal development has been concised into that, and talks about the power of the mind and how you stay focused. So I listen to that. again, Napoleon Hill talks about clarity in vision, having that desire to go and achieve something. And so have the goal card. I don't know very clearly on what do I want to achieve, and I look at those goal cards on a daily basis. So that's the third thing that I follow on a daily basis. And yeah, affirmations are extremely powerful, which is not there in the Indian cultural philosophy standpoint, but it came from the Western side on reaffirming on what you want to achieve. So it kind of like helps you reprogram your mind. So I would say affirmations, being clear on the goal, listening to the strangest secret in the world, and following the spiritual practices that I've been initiated into. And these are the things that keep me focused and achieving what I'm doing.
I think that's great insight. Where and these are certain practices which are easy to build, and people can build them in their daily life as well. Yes,
absolutely.
Deep diving into leadership now, which is what does leadership mean to you? Do you have any secret recipe for success? And if you have a secret recipe, can you share it with us?
I mean, I don't have a secret, but I'm just looking at patterns of the world. And for me, leadership is more to do with how you can inspire towards a particular direction. I mean, if you can be that one person who can move people in a particular direction, in a positive direction, that's what is leadership. Now, Hitler is another leader who did it, but it went on the other side. And from his view, he was doing the right thing. But from the world's view, yes, we know what kind of leader he was. But it was more like a dictatorship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was also reading this book, I think called Thou Shall Prosper. It was written by a Jewish rabbi priest.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about going back to the cultural days on how the Jews, they actually owned some of the world's greatest wealth because of a few qualities that they had. And in that, there's a whole segment on leadership where he talks about the greatest leaders in the world are those who have been the greatest students. Okay, so that is also, I feel, is very important, because even now, when I look at my spiritual side, when I look at my own guru, like he's been a great disciple to his guru, and who has been a great disciple to his guru, going back like 34 generations. Okay, so I would say true leadership are those who are good students and who have the humility and who do not have the ego that they are, they've been there or they've arrived, because no one arrives. It's always that learning and evolution stage that goes. And when it comes to, I'm bringing back some spiritual angles here. Okay, so because I like to correlate with this. Yes. There's a book called Nectar of Instruction, which is again written many years back, more than 500 years, I think, back. And there, the first verse, it says that a guru is again a leader. It is not about being a guru like what we know it today, but anybody can be a guru. In fact, they say that everybody should teach. So there they say one who can control their tongue, who can control their mind, and of course there's one level deeper, who can control their belly and their genitals. They are qualified to actually lead. Okay, so it's all connected. That's more on a spiritual context.
Yes.
But yes, because it also has to do with when they use the word Goswami, right? Like in our Indian scripture, is somebody who can actually control their senses. Those who could control their senses, they would be able to actually lead in a more powerful way. And if you see many of our yogis and all of them, they've been at that stage. But of course, in today's day and age, it is not that you have to go and be a yogi and live in the Himalayas, do all that kind of stuff. It's about living your life and also inculcating these principles and being grounded in those value systems. So just to recap, for me, leadership is anyone who can move people in a particular direction. And for you to have that potency to move, you need to be grounded, you need to be a good student, and you need to be able to control your senses.
That's a wonderful spin on leadership. Now, Siddharth, you worked with like more than 10,000 businesses, and you've also trained a lot of coaches.
Yes.
My question is more along the lines of, you have corporate leaders and then you have business leaders, and some people view them as distinct buckets, but would you say that their challenges are somewhat similar?
Yes, challenges would be similar, but I would say there's a little bit more creative, creative abilities on an independent independent leader who's not a corporate leader. So corporate leaders do have, they do have the few set of challenges, but they're still reporting to somebody else. Okay, and ultimately to the investors. It'll go back to that. So I would say an entrepreneur, they would have more way to creatively use their leadership abilities where it is not conforming to a particular system.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I mean? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the challenges would be the same. Yes, it is to help people get a result. And again, the goal of leadership is progress. Ultimately, the leader should do things in such a way that either the organization progresses or the company progresses. The progress usually comes down to the numbers, the revenues, the people, how happy they are. Those factors which are there. So I would say the challenges, though it may be the same, but to the level in which they can play would be slightly different in independent entrepreneur versus a corporate leader.
That makes a whole lot of sense. So one has structure and the one has freedom.
Yes. Absolutely.
So next question is, what are the essential qualities which a leader should have, which makes him add value to an organization? How important is his role in, building a good work ethic and culture? And how important are relationships and EQ in that process?
Super. Excellent question. So I think the first quality which is important is the hunger to learn new things. So constantly redefining oneself and not being comfortable. Okay, I know this, and just learn from me. Type. So one is being open to learning new things. The second quality, which is I think very important, especially for today's age, is reverse mentoring. That means being open to taking suggestions from down up, not always from top to down, even from down to top. Like for example, it could also mean like you going to a teenager and asking them, okay, what's happening in your world, what is going on in TikTok, and tell me what is motivating you, and learn from them on what is happening, because they are going to be the future. So it's also going from down to top and being open to receiving knowledge even from below, which is, I mean, it's just a number. Age is just a number. So having dissolving that ego, but also being firm, because when you are at a leadership role, you also need to really drive things forward. And I think when it comes to the way that the leadership styles are, it varies from person to person. There's no one cookie cutter model. There are some of them who are a little bit more the alpha leaders. Then you would have some people who are more like nurturing kind of leaders. You have some leaders who are more like promotional leaders. Some of them are more analytical leaders. I would fall into that space where I don't like to really confront and tell people what to do, but I like to create the system, and they need to follow the system. Let somebody else drive that system. So it's more like an invisible leadership mode, which I would prefer as a style, even though I'm more up on the face and doing things like in the social media from videos. But in my own organization, when I look at my style, it is, I just like to set the system and I want them to just follow it, let somebody else check with it, and it's slightly different. So as far as qualities are concerned, I think which are common: the ability to learn quick, the ability to redefine, to learn from, to get reverse mentoring into their systems, and also to have like a clear structure in terms of the execution, because leadership is about execution. It's not just about inspiration. So you need to have a balance of both. Inspiration is one part of the game, but how do you take that inspiration, put that into action, and measure all of that? And in some cases, you may need a partner also to do it. Like, not one leader may not be able to have both those qualities. So yes, at least having that ability to put the rubber on the road and make things move is another quality. So this is something that I look forward to.
So in fact, to take away from your leadership style, where you're talking about an invisible leadership style, where you give people the structure and systems within which they get to do the way they want to, and produce results. And in fact, that's a very, very empowering style, which I feel a lot more people can build in their leadership style.
You have to give that freedom, so you set the system and give the freedom, and actually then people perform, because sometimes it could also backfire when you're too rigid on the method. In fact, one of my early mentors said, like, you got to be fixed on the vision but be flexible on the methods. And when it flips, that's when the problem starts. People get flexible on the vision and they get fixed on the method on how it has to be done, and that's where organizations break, relationships go all over the place. My way or the highway type, that kind of leadership goes down the drain.
So Siddharth, you seem to be a bit of a mind reader, because you've answered one of the questions which was coming up, which was, what specific practices do you follow to enhance your performance and growth? And you mentioned that it's grounded in spirituality and grounded in the right practices. Now, having said that, what is the key to developing the next generation of leaders in an organization? And what are the practices that could be built to nurture them?
I think the first one is the mind, like helping people discover the true power of their mind and the potential of their mind. And to help them discover that is like the basic rituals, like I do. I listen to positive stuff. I don't read newspapers. I don't have television at home. I do have television, but I don't have cable TV. That went off like many years back. So first thing is to inculcate the habit of, or making people realize that what goes in is what comes out. Garbage in, garbage out. Good stuff in, good stuff out. Let them understand the power of the mind. That's the first thing, because once that is fixed, then the true creative abilities of leadership will start to emerge. That means you start to get new ideas, new ways to do things, and you will be in a very positive way of it's a very constructive way of looking at life. Yeah. So that is the first step, which is the mind. The next step would be to give creative freedom, or even giving the freedom to make mistakes. Okay. Or like the typical schooling education system is programming people that if you fail, that means you're bad. Okay, you get the last rank in class, and so that entire thing is based on perfectionism, which is actually not good for leadership, because leadership is about constant reinvention and relearning by making those mistakes. And we look at classic examples like the guy who founded the bulb, right? What's his name? Was it Tesla or Edison? Okay,
Edison,
he failed like some
Thomas
10,000
Edison,
times, and then he found. I mean, that's like way too much, like to fail 10,000 times. But the same principle needs to be applied in leadership. And one of my other mentors said, "You be a one mistake learner. Make mistakes, but do it once, and then you'll be able to really gain so much more." And even now, like even in my business right now, there's so much I'm learning every day. So many mistakes also I'm making, like Facebook ads account getting banned. Trying so many different things to make things work. It's a constant state of evolution. So yeah, the other point which is to have the freedom to be okay with making mistakes, but be a one mistake learner. So we have mind, we have mistakes, and I think, let's see what else. If you have to inculcate another idea of developing leadership is communication, because leadership is about communication. It's about clarity in communication and being able to deliver the message, whatever you want, so that your audience or the people who are following you are able to get it, and they're able to get it in a way by which they want to do it, not in a way like they have to do it. So that also, there's a thin line over there, which is the art of communicating. Yeah, that's what I would say.
So it's interesting that you mentioned the be a one mistake person, and in the same way you mentioned Thomas Edison's example. But now using Edison's example one step further, his is then a story of perseverance, like not really giving up even though he's rejected like several times.
Yes.
So there is, I think, a positive to that as well. But being one mistake is.
So even if you look at his case, like he would have found how many ways that will not happen, because he would have tried different things, and he would have finally it came down to, okay, yes, this works. So even those 10,000 mistakes that he would have done, it might have not been the same. It would have been like different angles to it.
Again, extrapolating it one step further. So we've spoken about your practices, nurturing the next generation of leaders. And how about best practices like an organization can build to make it a great workplace? In your case, I know that you believe in having a virtual office as well. Yeah. So are there any best practices for that as well?
Yeah. See, when it comes to a typical organization, I know like some of my friends who run like large organizations in the internet space, they have like a ritual on a daily basis where they stop at say 12 p.m. in the afternoon, and the entire organization watches a positive video or something like that, or they even play some meditation, some mantra, something like that, where the entire organization aligns themselves to the common purpose, of the common goal. So that's one idea which can be implemented from an organizational level. From a virtual mode, I think it comes down to personal. It's all the personal. Like even though I work from home, it seems all cool and stuff, but when you have two kids running around, when you have to have fix all the small things in the family, it is not there is more discipline that's required actually work from home, because when you go to office environment, everything is like set over there. So yeah, self-management is, I think, the key over here. If each person knows exactly what they have to do, and if they're able to have a good mindset to structure their day to get things done, then they'll be able to move forward. And there also has to be buffer days. There has to have buffer time, because we are not robots that can just work In fact, some of the best ideas come when you're not working. So for me, like Wednesdays, I like to take a break. I don't want to do any work. I just like to drive out of town. In fact, today's a Wednesday, so I normally keep this day free and open, right? And so like keeping a day for family, keeping a day for spirituality. Like if you can just structure your entire week where there's a lot of breathing space, that actually gives you a lot more. Uh, what do you say? It gives you a lot more thrust to progress. It's like how we breathe. There's always a breathing in, breathing out. The seasons also go in cycles. Everything's in cycles, day and night. So that same thing, if you're able to make a pattern out of it in your own business on a weekly basis. That's also, I would say, a leadership principle which even some of the top leaders follow. Like I was listening to masterclass.com. Disney, he's a CEO of Disney. There's a masterclass on him, and he talks about the rhythms and how he's able to structure his day. And he's one of the most successful CEOs on the planet, the CEO of Disney. So I could see some patterns over there. They follow a rhythm. So from an organizational level, I think it is to set that rhythm, looking at the entire organization as an organism. Okay, every company is an organism, so you have to look at that also in terms of that rhythm that you can create. And if you're able to look at your company in that view, you'll be making different decisions.
So that's a different beat and a different rhythm.
Yes, absolutely.
So you could you also elaborate a little on, like, of course we've spoken on the rosy side of leadership as well. The one mistake you witness, leaders or team members making more frequently than others.
Okay, so let's talk from the leader's perspective, because I'll tell you what mistakes I have made. The mistakes that that I initially made while growing my company was being rigid on processes. And I used to keep building new processes and not allowing the teams to actually absorb it or not even get feedback. So not giving room for feedback, and not training the teams or not absorbing the situation, because sometimes a leader may run at a particular speed and they expect everybody to run at the same speed. That is a mistake. So sometimes you need to look at you need to pace it also. Okay. The other mistakes, when I think about what I made, is let's see, I'm just looking at some practical scenarios on situation that I've actually screwed up. Sometimes being not taking the clients for granted. Sometimes what happens is they make the payment, and things start to roll out, and then I expect that they're in alignment with us, but then there's no alignment. So sometimes we've also had an issue where there's no synchronicity between us and the client, and that it also comes down to communication, not communicating clearly. They assuming something, they expecting something, we expecting something from that side, then things going out of place. So leadership also has to do with transparency in communication and clarity in the communication. So I've also screwed up in that area. Whereas I think these are the top things that come to my mind, which have actually helped me stay stagnant for a long time, and also not learning. Sometimes even the ego also comes in. Like, I thought I knew it all, and whatever. Like in the digital space, I was doing a lot of workshops, for many years, and because of that, something went into the head where I thought, okay, I know what I'm doing, so you got to listen to me. That kind of an attitude actually was keeping me stagnant. And thanks to my mentors, sometimes you need that slap to realize, okay, time to wake up, and then that's when things open up. So I would say having that humility, having that focus, and being open is very, very important for leaders to grow. And I think there's a book by I think Marshall Goldsmith or something. He's saying what got you here will not get you there. So that's again a mantra that I would live by. So what has got me till here is okay, but what's going to get me there, I need to redefine myself. So that mindset is also important.
You're absolutely right. You have to constantly redefine yourself if you really need to grow.
Yes.
And this, you're right about the I know it all attitude as well, because that's there, very, very prevalent in a lot of organizations.
Absolutely.
And with a lot of individuals as well.
Yes.
And that comes in the way. You've touched a lot on the mindset. Would you equate good leadership with a positive mindset, good energy, and how do you actually think like a leader, or think like a managing director, CXO, basically the core leader? How do you think like one?
So the thought process of leaders should be more in terms of the intent to grow, where there's no element of self-centeredness. I think that is a key element. Just let me elaborate a little bit further. So I always tell even the community here for students to create a mission around helping people achieve whatever goals that they want. So the fundamental thing is like, it's not about you. The leader should always think that it is not about me, it's about them. So the them can either be the clients, it can either be the team. And this goes back to one of my mentors. He gave this very simple checkpoint. Blair Singer, he says the three things: mission first, your team should be second, and me third. If you make any decisions in this priority, that means if there's some situation and if you're thinking, okay, is it going to affect the mission, okay, then I need to take action on that. But if the self-centeredness comes first, if me comes first, like if am I going to gain from this first, and if the decision is the action is taken based on that, that's when things start to go wrong. And if you see many of the leadership, many companies start to crumble when the self-centeredness comes in over there. So mission first, team second, me third. So team could be the internal teams, team could also be your vendors, it could be your partners, it could be your clients. So their interest should be next, and then comes you or me. So yeah, just to recap, yeah, it's not about you, it is about them. And if that is always the underlying theme, then I think whatever decision that you make, even if it's a wrong decision, it will come back, it will start to play, it will have a different impact on the growth. Yeah.
I'd really like to know, like, how important do you think leadership mentoring and training is for corporate and business leaders and or executives?
The importance of leadership mentoring?
Yes, and training.
It's super, super important, because that's the only way that you can get free. So freedom comes with you actually creating a system of training the next line. And even though I work from home, if you see what I'm doing is I'm actually training leadership skills. I want people to be independent, not keep coming back to me for every small thing. Even though I'm the coach teaching people how to build systems and all of that. So it's all about empowering. So the leadership mentoring has to be there, like mandatory in any corporate organization, even if it's a small organization, even if it's a work from home kind of mode, where you're actually constantly training your virtual teams to get things done, or you're training your, like, even I spent like a whole hour training my accountant on exactly how the invoicing should be done. Like, they've given me some ideas, but I say, this is what I expect. It has to be going at this date, this time. So that internal training and mentoring in every department is important. Be it marketing, sales, finance, people, HR, and clients. Even how do you deal with clients, how do you communicate with them? So I spent a good few months just training my internal teams, where every single call was recorded on how the process needs to be executed and how it has to be done in a way by which it really adds value to the entire system. So, and the beauty about the digital age is you just need to do it once and you can record the whole thing. So when somebody new comes into the system, they just need to plug in WhatsApp video and run with it. So yeah, very important. But the key is to automate it. Yes.
Oh yes, and that's what you're the best at.
Yes.
Now the next question is really, like, now that you've actually mentioned that it is important, like one way is for corporates or the business owner to invest in the training of their teams. That's one way. And the other way is the corporate executive or leader or business executive or leader investing in his own training and growth by, taking the help of external advisors and coaches and trainers.
Yes.
So which one do you think is probably the better route, or would you recommend a mix of both for organizations and individuals?
Yeah, it has to be both, because first it should start from the top. That means the leader needs to understand, okay, where the world is going, what are the different areas that they can improve their process. Then they'll be able to get some perspective of what new things that they can do for their organization. Then once they make note of that, then you create an entire separate training curriculum for each department and how they can fulfill that new vision that has been set. So it always has to start from the top, and that has to trickle down into the the more tactical implementation training.
And would you recommend like individuals as well invest in their own growth and training? Because a lot of individuals might have that mindset that why should I spend on my growth?
Yes.
Let the corporate invest instead of myself.
I mean, when it comes to this, I have to go back to a quote by my mentor. He says that he says, don't be cheap on your way to greatness. Okay, you want to be great, you got to invest in yourself. So even if you're just depending on the corporate, they're going to pay for it and all that stuff, that I would say in one sense is like, yeah, they're doing it for me. But if you have that attitude of you going out there and also learning on your own, investing in, and basically becoming a full stack brain. Look at some of the biggest, most successful people in the world. They are not just a singular focused mindset. They have a full stack brain. They know different things about different areas. And to be really valuable in the future in any organization, you cannot be a single skill setted person. You have to have different views of the world, and that will actually help you in your core area also. And just to give you an example, for example, I love to watch documentaries on all kinds of topics. And if I don't know if you know this, I play a percussion instrument. I'm a sound engineer. That's one side of it. I do my video editing. I do audio editing.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the number side of the game of digital, and I'm also a creative. I also do my own Photoshop design. I also do the video stuff. I've been learning about DSLR cameras. I like to like just widen the horizon with the spirituality side, Western philosophy, Eastern philosophy, and it's not something that has happened like in a short span of time. It has been over the years that
Mm-hmm.
I've just been open to new ways of looking at things. And uh, I'll tell you what, that has played a huge impact in the leadership right now. I mean, the way that I'm able to understand people who are coming from various backgrounds. So even if you're at a corporate level, if you're even just an employee at a mid-level position right now, if you can widen your horizon of your knowledge and influences from various places, that's actually going to add more value to your role that you're playing. And coming back to that point, is it's a huge yes. You have to invest in yourself. Besides what the company is putting you through, the company is putting you through the trainings to fulfill the company's objectives and goals for that particular quarter or the year. But what you're going to be doing is something which is beyond all of that. And Jim Rohn says that, self education, no, formal education will make you a living, but self education will make you a fortune.
Yes. To add to that, in fact, most of us, we tend to focus a lot on the external aspects, like what
Yes.
career growth will I get, or what business growth will I get? Where's the money? Where are the profits? What are the results?
Mm.
And do you kind of agree, or do you feel that building that internal side or building your leadership skills will actually eventually have a direct connection with these external results, like a career growth or business growth or money and profits?
Absolutely. I mean, it's you need to look at I look at this whole game like two poles. Like you need to be on both sides of the poles. Like there are, one is like, some people look at materialism, spiritualism. I say you be both.
Yes.
I mean, why are you taking sides? And or even stand the two sides of the coin, stand on the singular, stand on the edge of the coin and look at the world from both the angles.
Mm.
So yeah, the answer to that is yes. You need to be doing both the sides of the game, and each one will feed each other. So yeah, it's like, yeah, work
One,
hard, party hard, and look at it in that way. Yes.
yes. And since you are, of course, the online, guru, so to speak, uh, how do you view leadership training and development programs being disseminated online, and what benefits do you see? Would you recommend it? I'm sure you would recommend it, but
Yeah.
what benefits do you see of online development programs?
Okay. So from a online perspective,
Mm-hmm.
it should see, when it comes to an online program, it is all driven by the personality. Like people should feel comfortable learning from that person, and whoever is teaching it cannot just be like reading out of a PowerPoint and getting things done from in a studio and just getting like a voiceover. Okay, we have covered all these modules, and I know many of these corporate organizations have implemented e-learning into their systems with a very dry and boring format of uh, of learning. And then they look at those numbers, they look at the statistics, and they just say, okay, e-learning does not work, without questioning on how it was delivered,
Mm.
the context of the delivery, on the or the persona that's delivering it. And so I would say the first step is to which is what I'm on this mission right now, is to enable people to become great digital coaches
Mm.
at whatever level. So what do I mean by great is, knowledge is one part of the game, but how do you present that knowledge is another part of the game, which is the context side of it. Like right from the way that you show up, the way that you bring out your uniqueness in your videos, and all that stuff would come on. It's more like the soft stuff, the soft skill side of it. But that is actually very, very important. So that's the first layer. The first layer of anything being effective in the corporate e-learning space is the context and the communication that happens. Then we come down to the curriculum side of it. So when it comes to curriculum design, it is a science. You cannot just cram people with an encyclopedia of information by asking them to watch like 1 hour, 2 hour videos. Some of them may do, but the attention span is very low these days. So you have to really break it down into micro learning, and that's the word that I use, micro learning. You got to break it down into 3, 4, 5 minute videos, easy to consume, where you're giving people, literally you're giving them chocolates to eat. They need to feel the value with every single video. And even if they watch one video, even if it's a 2 minutes video, they need to go out of that video with some takeaway and some inspiration. Like a takeaway and inspiration needs to be infused into every single piece of content that you're putting out into the system. And the third thing is the curriculum needs to be a journey. It is not something like in a college or in school days where we learn for so many years and then we go to implement that knowledge. The knowledge in a digital space, it has to be where they're implementing on the tell people, you just do this and then you do this and you do this. You got to learn and implement straight off the bat, not waiting for like tomorrow, let me finish this and let me do afterwards. It does not work that way. So even the design of the program, the curriculum, needs to really inspire people to take action then and there, and then take them to the next step and the next step and the next step. So while you have pre-programmed videos that can guide people through a system, there also has to be an element of live clarifications and Q&A, which can help them move much faster. Because as they're watching pre-recorded videos, they will get stuck. There's no doubts about it. But once you are giving them a place where they also come live and ask questions and get small things clarified, those small tweaks can help them move much faster. So just to recap, the way that this whole engine needs to be built in e-learning, it can be extremely powerful if you incorporate these elements. And otherwise, it'll just be any other program, and people will not finish. The average, course completion rate on Udemy is like 5%. That means people impulsively buy courses; they don't even finish. It's a great deal; they just buy it, and that's the sad truth of the industry. In my community, I have a 45% completion rate, which is like 10 times industry average, because I've incorporated these elements.
Yes, and I've seen it does, and I've seen the chocolates or the little videos that you've churned out.
Yes.
It actually piques your interest to watch the next one and take action. It does, yes. So to ask you another question, you mentioned a little about the mistakes leaders make, and that's of course a very internal thing because we are humans, we make mistakes. But sometimes there are also external crisis situations which you need to deal with. And it's not the making of an individual. So, do you have any examples or stories on this? And how does one actually cope up with an external crisis?
So, okay, when you talk about external crisis, are you saying like they made a decision and that's really created like a serious damage outside? I mean, and how do you deal with that?
Could be. Right? That could be one example.
Okay. Yes. So if it's something like that, I think, thank God I have not come across that, and I would not want to come across a major crisis like that. Again, because of the intent where I want to really make any decision should come from a point where we think in different angles, and there's always the intent of the community first. Anyway, keeping all of that aside, if such a situation arises, I mean, the leader has to be the first to apologize. Like, if you look at big companies, like I don't know, like say Flipkart, or we have this Lenskart who had that they went through some issue publicly on social media. The CEO has to come out there and apologize. I mean, they have to do a public apology saying that, okay, we did this bad. Otherwise, it'll actually affect the brand. Even United Airlines, I think there was some big thing that went around where a person was not treated properly. They made a song out of it that became viral, and they lost a lot of customers. And so I think it is the leaders at the top, especially if you're with the large organizations, you need to be extremely aware of what's happening down there, even if it means you incorporating sentiment analysis tools. And there are many tools out there that actually can help analyze what is the voice of the market. Is it negative, positive, neutral? Data is there right now. We can actually use some of these tools. So large organizations are running to lakhs and hundreds and thousands of people need to incorporate some of these elements to look at the online reputation management. That's a whole topic altogether if you actually look at it. But yeah, in simple words, yes, if you screwed up, you got to come out there and say, yes, I did. What am I going to do to improve it better? And usually, actually, when you're vulnerable, it actually increases your trust. and it helps people understand the situation.
I've asked you what's your vision, your big dream. I've heard it a lot, and I think it'll be nice for everyone to know your vision and dream.
Thank you for giving me that opportunity to share the vision. The vision never became crystallized until just a few months ago. Okay, because it is always the constant search of what am I supposed to do, in this world. And of course, from a spiritual standpoint, the vision is to really live a very purposeful life, which is a grounded life. And there's a longer journey beyond even this life. Okay, so looking at that, that's like the I would say the 200,000 feet above the ground view. Okay, but then now let's come down here. The immediate vision is, I feel the education system currently is not catering to the new world which we're entering into. If you look at a few TED talks, there are already talks which says that by the year 2030, over 2 billion jobs are going to be lost, with a B. Okay, 2 billion jobs. There's a TED talk, you can go and look on that. And with artificial intelligence, automation, everything taking over industries, we're already seeing this happen even in the big IT companies that we know. Like, in fact, I met the main AI guy of Infosys like a few years back, and he said that we did a few things and that helped us let go of 20,000 people this year. And it's like, wow, okay, that's crazy. and that's the way the world is going to be. So I feel that the education system right now is creating workers for a world where the workers cannot work. Okay, so that is the fundamental problem. And these education organized, what do you say, colleges, universities have all been heavily invested to fulfill that goal, and that's why all the whole capitation fee, all these things happened over there. Okay, and I'm glad that I'm not a graduate even till today, because I did not go through that long journey of just wasting my time in college. So having said that, we need to fundamentally shift the way people learn and the way people teach. So the classroom style of education, I feel, is getting obsolete, because now people are learning through videos, they're learning through webinars, and I'm seeing that on a weekly basis, practically speaking, people transforming in front of my eyes, learning new things. So the vision is, I want to really create more of these teachers, the new age teachers, the digital teachers, who can really not just teach information, but take people through journeys of transformation, and to create their own digital tribes. Like right now, my tribe is my core inner circle tribe is, I think, touching around 6,000 people, but the overall tribe maybe touching around 14,000 people at this point. So that also gives a huge responsibility now for me. Like, whatever decision I make, it has to be for the good of the community and the tribe. And I'm just one guy. I'm just a normal guy. I don't have any superpowers, none of that stuff. Anybody can do this. And it took me 16 months to build this tribe. Now imagine 3 years, 4 years down the line, like Namrata, in your case, imagine you have 10,000 people next 1 year. And if I'm able to inspire even say 100 people who are having 10,000 people now, what kind of an impact that will that have in this world? That's what wakes me up every single morning. Okay, so if I believe if we change the fundamental way on how we teach and the fundamental way on how people learn, they don't even need the education system. I mean, they need the basics. Like, for example, I have 2 kids and I put them in Montessori school. I'm not going to put them to the regular CBSE for sure, because I have to walk the talk, and I know where the world is going also to some extent. And they need to start getting the core values of of morality, of imagination, and these other things. The technical knowledge can be learned, but I think with the way technology is going with artificial intelligence, I think things like having the right values, morality, all of these will start to play a huge part. Because, I mean, if you go the other side, it could be devastating in the world. Even Elon Musk talks about how he's also scared about AI, and if it does not come from a right intention, it can turn the world around. So I feel we being humans, what cannot replace a human being with an artificial intelligence is this kind of a connection with people. And if you're able to create more teachers and create build digital tribes and communities, and of course take those communities offline, we'll be living in a much better world, and a world of learners. And the big vision, I mean, what I'm looking at, like say 2-3 years from now, is every 9 p.m. in India is going to be the learning hour. Somebody will be doing webinars in some part of India in whatever topic that's going to be, and we have like over 2 billion people, touching 2 billion people in this country. And I think it's time for all of us to just step up and build our own clubs.
And this is your version. This is your version of the happy hour, right?
Yes, my version of the happy hour. It's the learning hour. And it does not have to be 9 p.m. Like now I'm doing webinars at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. Like imagine a country that's filled with digital teachers and a country that's learning. That is really going to make an impact.
Yes. And soon maybe beyond borders as well.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, technology, there's no boundaries actually.
Yes. Thank you so much, Siddharth. Thank you so much, Sidz, for your time.
Yes, thank you.
From NAM.